Is
I
that
hope not.
you don't want to be Barney Fife?
Well, there's a little Barney in me, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Years after the passing of Don Knotts, a shocking revelation has emerged. His fans are paralyzed by the information his wife revealed about their marriage. While the actor had a great on-screen life, there were secrets the world never knew about his life behind the camera. She shared intimate details of their married life, family, and his enduring friendship with his co-star Andy Griffith. The actor had several marriages and affairs before his demise. Which of Don's wives shared this secret? Stay on this video to find out. The truth revealed. Frances Yarborough is ready to tell it all. Although she stayed out of the spotlight for a long time, she decided to break her silence and show the world how she and the actor lived behind the scenes. You might not know this about Don because he loved to keep his life private. However, his love life was as large as his career. Aside from his 3 marriages, he had other affairs confirmed by some of his co-stars. Could this be the reason for Frances Yarborough's outburst? Could she not handle the comedian's multiple marriages? After Don's demise, many wondered how Frances dealt with the difficult moments. But Frances is not leaving us in the dark. She's out to speak the truth and share her experience while married to the actor. This will change everything you are taught about the funny actor and reveal a side of the story you've never heard. Don Knotts was a legendary actor known for his comedic adventures, particularly as Barney Fife on The Andy Griffith Show. Reflecting on his demise, Frances shared, "He had an exceptional ability to capture the poignant aspects of people's joy and suffering, turning them into something utterly heartwarming and hilariously entertaining." This was all she had to say. She shared information about her time with Don and what happened during their time together. You will be taken aback by this startling truth about the actor's life when the cameras are off. Before we begin, let's briefly examine the actor's life and how he became famous on The Andy Griffith Show. Here's a background story to help you understand how fate brought Don and Andy together. The show. Don Knotts is famous for his delectable role delivery, the 1960s sitcom, The Andy Griffith Show. The journey began on October 20, 1955. Don performed with Andy Griffith in the Broadway adaptation of No Time for Sergeants, and later appeared in the film version in 1958. That was his on-screen debut, and he was exceptional in his role as an Air Force test administrator whose routine is disrupted by the activities of a provincial recruit. Everyone loved his character in the film. Andy Griffith was one of those people who saw Don's talent. In 1960, he gave Don the lead role in The Andy Griffith Show as Barney Fife, a sheriff's deputy. It was the stage the new actor needed to showcase talents the world had never seen. The nearly always wrong Barney thought of the day he could use the one bullet Andy gave him. He longed for the moment that the shiny bullet in his shirt pocket would be put to use. Don was never meant to be the lead actor, but the producers discovered the show was funnier with him taking the role. Andy often confirmed this in interviews. By the second episode, I knew that Don should be funny and I should play straight. Knotts' career skyrocketed after his appearance on the show. He received numerous awards for Best Supporting Actor in a Television Comedy. After its 5th season, he chose to pursue a life in show business. He wanted to try other roles, at least that was what people thought. There was more to Don's absence from the show's remaining seasons. Will this change everything you think about the show and their partnership? Keep watching to find out. Andy said the show would not continue after 5 seasons, and Don held his remarks. This caused him to seek other ventures. It wasn't difficult to secure a 5-film contract with Universal Studios. When Andy announced his decision to proceed with the series, Don had yet to agree to the contract, but he never considered staying on Andy's show. His mind was made up to move on. When he left in 1965, his character's disappearance was explained by Deputy Fife, finally achieving success by joining the Raleigh, North Carolina police force. Many wondered why Don would turn down an opportunity to continue a show for which he was famous. Why didn't he stay on the series without signing the Universal Studios contract? While fans often laughed at their on-screen relationship, they questioned Don and Andy's rapport in real life. Many didn't know that they shared the same chemistry off-screen. Their friendship grew beyond the show. They were friends. They were familiar with each other's business and family. However, working with friends can be tricky, which was no different for Don and Andy. Keeping business matters separate from their relationship was challenging, especially when they were involved in salary disputes. When Don agreed to be on Andy's show, he signed a 1-year contract and extended it ahead of the 2nd season. He was paid $1,050 per episode and an estimated $35 per season. After adjusting for inflation, Don realized he had made a bad deal by receiving a low rate. He requested a share of the show's back-end ownership from Andy and two other producers, Sheldon Leonard and Danny Thomas. However, his request was rejected. Andy denied him the opportunity to reconsider the deal or raise the initial offer, which brought tension between the two friends. The low rate and Andy's impression that the series would end after the 5th season led Don to let go of the show and pursue a new movie deal with Universal Studios. There was more to Don's exit from the show. It wasn't just about seeking a new career in Hollywood. Money could have been a driving factor in the decision. It wasn't just a matter of how much money he could make in Hollywood. Andy's upper hand in the show's operation and the little he earned led him to leave. Don never had a financial stake in the program. He was paid like every other actor on a television show. His manager, Sherwin Bash, once shared his financial arrangement with him. He said, "I worked out this terrible deal for Don Knotts where he made no money in 5 years. While it wasn't a bad salary for a television show in the 60s, it was little compared to what Andy received. That's the reason Don quit the show." Although there were speculations about their rift, close sources reported the actors remained friends and collaborated on other projects, including Matlock. Many believed Francis's reveal was about the distress he faced with Andy. Did he take his frustrations out on Francis? You have to stay tuned to find out. After leaving the show, Don had so much public success on the silver screen. He became a sensation and starred in movies like The Ghost, Mr. Chicken, and The Reluctant Astronaut. He was the man of the hour. Fans loved him, as evidenced by his movie's high ratings. This success led him to create a formidable cinematic partnership with Tim Conway. How did he begin? Was he always interested in acting or comedy? Don's background. Jesse Donald Knotts was born July 21, 1924 in Morgantown, West Virginia, United States. He was the youngest of the 4 kids. His father, William Knott, was a farmer, while his mother, Elsie Luzetta Knotts, took care of the home. They lived in extreme poverty, so you can imagine how Don grew up. His brothers, Willis, William, and Ralph, tried to support him in the little way they could, but it wasn't enough for a family of 6. West Virginia was one of the hardest-hit states amid the Great Depression. It was a daily struggle for survival in the Knott household. To make things worse, Don faced emotional trauma as a child. His mother was 40 at birth. It seemed like Don's arrival wasn't part of his parents' plans, and he had to live with that reminder while growing up. His father, who had schizophrenia and dealt with an alcohol addiction, made Don's life traumatic. He sometimes scared him with a knife, making the little boy timid. At 13, his father passed on from pneumonia, and though it brought a strange relief from the constant terror, Don's family faced a new challenge. They no longer had someone to provide for them. His mother ran to a boarding house in Morgantown so she could cater to them. She ensured that he had the best support she could afford to provide. Education was important to her, and she encouraged him to get a degree. Before earning a degree, he served in the United States Army during World War II. This was where Don grew his passion for entertaining people. He often performed ventriloquism shows and enjoyed making jokes. His act featured a dummy named Danny that Knotts grew to hate and eventually threw overboard. Don's talent allowed him to spend most of his service entertaining the troops, making him valuable connections that he utilized after the war. After his time in the Army, he attended high school and worked as an entertainer. Don was known as the funny guy at West Virginia University. He took on roles as a comedian in a GI variety show, Stars and Gripes, and had the best time. Although he was there to earn a degree, he found the process entertaining, as it unlocked a passion he had never known existed. In 1940, he graduated with a bachelor's degree in education and chose to pursue his dreams as a comedian and actor. He began his career by performing at churches and people's parlors and even bars. The location wasn't a problem for Don. He just wanted to make people laugh and did a great job. That wasn't all Don was about. He also appeared on the radio, playing the character of the wisecracking Windy Wales on Bobby Benson and the Be Bad Bee Writers. After trying for a while, he got his first break in New York as a stand-up comedian. It might have been a small gig, but it was an essential moment in his life. Don's dreams were finally coming to reality, and he was ecstatic. His first break on television was in the soap opera Search for Tomorrow. His role in the 1953 projects earned him recognition as a repertory player on The Steve Allen Show. This led him to Broadway and his famous role in The Andy Griffith Show. He enjoyed the role of Barney Fife and became a massive television star. Most of his fans believed Don's character was one of the reasons for the show's success. He starred as Barney on other shows like The Joey Bishop Show and Return to Mayberry. The 1964 movie The Incredible Mr. Limpet brought him further into the spotlight. His 5-film contract with one of the prestigious film studios gave him appearances in movies like The Shakiest Gun in the West. After the contract closed, he received an offer to host his variety show on NBC. That's how The Don Knotts Show premiered in 1970. It was a once-in-a-lifetime moment for the actor. He couldn't believe how far he had come in show business. Sadly, the show was canceled soon after airing. It had low viewership and poor ratings, and the producers couldn't keep up with the bad business. Don also realized that variety shows weren't his strongest point. He might have started performing such acts when he was younger, but he had evolved into an actor and loved the job. After his breakout role on Andy's show, Don starred in several comedy-themed films, including The Incredible Mr. Limpet and The Ghost and Mr. Chicken. His roles in movies became shorter, with appearances in Big Bully and Pleasantville. He had few blockbuster film roles and focused on brief television features. In 1975, he landed 2 Disney films and supporting roles in 4 others. In 2003, he had a stage role in On Golden Pond and 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter. In 1979, he starred in Three's Company and remained on the series for 5 seasons until its end in 1984. Although he kept to stage performances, his television projects were often as a voice talent. In 2002, he appeared in the video game Scooby-Doo Nights of Hundred Frights. He starred in several promotions for Cartoon Network and partnered as a voice talent for the children's series Hermie and Friends. In 2005, he took a voice role as Mayor Turkey Lurkey in Chicken Little. His roles on television and Broadway took his career to great heights, earning him a spot as one of Hollywood's icons. Sadly, the actor faced challenges that ultimately cut his career short. Let's find out what happened to Don Knotts' tragic demise. The first painful experience he had was in 1969. Don's mother passed on. She was buried in the family plot at Beverly Hills Memorial Park in Morgantown. It was a difficult moment for him, as he had grown to adore her and the sacrifices she made for him and his brothers. It took a toll on Knott, and one of his outlets was working. He never turned down projects, no matter how taxing they were, and it became detrimental to his health. Thomas Knotts shared a behind-the-scenes experience of his father's Hollywood successes and spoke about the pressure he faced from being on screen. Though he was a child when Don rose to fame on The Andy Griffith Show, he could see his dedication to the show's success. Daniel DeVise's piece, Andy and Don, The Making of a Friendship and a Classic American TV Show, included interviews with Thomas and Don about the major career arcs in Don's life. That's the hardest I ever remember seeing him work. He worked day and night under such pressure. He was stressed out, Tom said. Don agreed with his son as he acknowledged the work stress he encountered. For the first time in my career, I felt I was up against something I could not handle. For openers, I couldn't deal with writers firing that many sketches at me every week. I couldn't seem to make decisions on material that fast. He went to great lengths to sustain the peak of his career. Don knew it was the only outlet, and he always buried himself in work. At 57, he was diagnosed with macular degeneration. The eye condition caused Don to experience blurry vision, which worsened over time. Although he pushed beyond the obstacles and kept working, a point came when he could no longer drive. The condition worsened and caused Don to become blind. He could no longer make television appearances as he did. Don was diagnosed with lung cancer in 2006 years, and he passed away from complications related to cancer. Donald Knotts' demise shocked the world on February 24, 2006. He passed on at the Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles from pulmonary and respiratory complications of pneumonia related to lung cancer. Months before he bowed to the sickness, he underwent treatments and was discharged, but it ended up tragically. He was buried at Westwood Memorial Park in Los Angeles. Don never quit his career as an actor and entertainer until his last breath. His final roles were in Air Buddies and as a voice actor in Chicken Little. Don kept on until he could no longer handle the pressure. According to reports, Andy Griffith was one of the last people to leave his bedside, marriages, and family. A little digging reveals that Don was involved in many affairs. Al Checo, his friend, confirmed this. Don was somewhat of a ladies' man. He fancied himself something of a Frank Sinatra. The ladies loved him, and he dated quite a bit. He loved women, and they reciprocated his affection. It wasn't difficult for him to entice ladies. All he had to do was tell a joke. It worked every time, and it led to several of his relationships. Let's find out how many women he married and what led to the end of their relationships. Catherine Metz was his first girlfriend and later became his wife. They met in college and immediately got together. Don was fascinated by how influential Catherine was. She was the daughter of a Baptist minister in West Virginia. They dated for 2 years and got married after Don graduated from college. Their wedding was held at Catherine's father's church in 1947, and they had 2 children, Thomas and Karen Knotts. They moved to New York to begin a new life and had hoped that the connections that Don had made in the special services branch would help him break into show business. Before Catherine and Don became strangers who were absent-minded about each other, they used to be college sweethearts. They grew attracted to each other at their first meeting. You could call it love at first sight. Don was confident Catherine was the only woman he would end up with. Little did he know they would go through a painful separation. You might wonder what went wrong and how they went from lovers to strangers. We will give you all the gist of their relationship. Keep watching. Don never got over the issues he dealt with in his childhood, and it led him to depression. He also had an alcohol problem like his father and often neglected Catherine and the kids. In 1964, the couple got a divorce after 17 years of marriage. Catherine had custody of Thomas, while Don raised his daughter Karen as a single parent. A decade later, he was ready to enter the dating pool, and Lauralee Chuchna came into the picture. He married his new lover in 1974 and began a fresh chapter. However, Don never dealt with his issues, as there were rumors about his declining mental health during their union. The same challenges that ended his first marriage threatened his relationship with Lauralee. She opened up about her husband's predicament during an interview. He wrestled fiercely with depression, and in my perception, my assistance was beneficial to him. I could discern how he would spiral down an unending trail of negative thoughts. His disposition was volatile. He was seen in many different moods. His disposition was volatile. He was seen in many different moods. It was evident that the couple were in love, but Don's rising battle with depression made a rift between them. Sadly, they divorced in 1983 and moved on a different path. For Don, it was his final stop on the road to love and marriage. He knew he had many unresolved issues and wanted to address them before he could be with another partner. It took him several years, but he eventually found a new love interest. His final romance and most prominent union was with Frances Yarborough. He walked down the aisle for the third and last time after almost 20 decades of staying single. Frances was an actress famous for her role in The Electric Chair. The couple met while working on the sitcom What a Country, but Don wasn't ready for anything serious. He had been through chaotic relationships and wasn't up for another turmoil. However, Frances captivated him, and they married in 2002. They stayed married until his demise in 2006. Frances revealed to close sources how he battled with anxiety and depression throughout his life. Don was a hypochondriac and struggled with this condition all the time. It's a surprise that he looked put together on screen. While he brought comic relief and excited everyone, Don Knotts was dealing with the worst emotions. For someone who looked confident about his craft, he struggled with an inferiority complex. Despite his success, he never felt good at anything, and this feeling kept him in bed for days. Off-screen, Don was dealing with his demons and never felt worthy of anything. Despite the love he received from fans, he always felt inadequate. However, the actor was always ready to entertain and show love to others. Frances inherited his multi-million-dollar estate after his demise. The residence was a condo near Beverly Hills that went for $1.2 million in 2007. Don was a loving father to his 2 children with Catherine. He was a supportive and encouraging father. While Thomas Knotts chose to stay out of the spotlight, Karen took on her father's role and began her career as an actress and comedian. One of the people who had a great relationship with Don was his daughter Karen. The actress was born in 1954 and had one of the most memorable childhoods. Don gave her what he had never received from his father. We had a World Book encyclopedia. After dinner he would say, "Okay, kids, which letter of the encyclopedia should we read from today?" He was witty, clever, and very deadpan. He would set the joke up by acting like he would confidently tell you something, then lay this ridiculous line out there that would crack you up. When she aspired to be an actress like Don, he discouraged her and told her it was a rough business. He instead wanted her to work at a library, which she did for a while. When Don saw her passion for show business, he allowed her to be featured on television shows alongside him and in other movie projects. Karen said she learned her work ethic from her father. She disclosed this in an interview with Closer Weekly. "As a child, I used to eavesdrop on my rehearsing for the Andy Griffith show. We weren't supposed to bother him. I would stand outside the door and listen to him run his lines repeatedly in different ways. It sounded like a concert pianist going over each bar with different emphasis." Karen wrote a book to honor her father after his passing. She detailed her experience with him in the memoir Tied Up in Knots, My Dad and Me. She remembered Don as a down-to-earth father who had strong family values. She often performed it as a one-woman show. One aspect Karen never shies away from is addressing her father's struggles. She believed that his mental issues stemmed from his insecure childhood. He was emotionally very volatile and lived with a lot of fear and anxiety. He got through his childhood by being creative. He had this creative mind that was unstoppable. All these problems significantly burdened my dad. He had problems with his father and an older brother who tormented him because they had alcoholism. When his father passed, he was 13. At that point, that huge burden was lifted off him, and he became old enough that he was able to get the other brother under control, so he was no longer terrorized at home. Despite these disturbing moments in Don's childhood, he found ways to bring happiness to others. Even in his final moments, Karen could not help but burst out in laughter. Here's the thing about my dad. He had this funniness that was completely insanely natural. When he was dying, he was making us laugh hysterically. It was his final moments, but he did something or said something that caused my stepmother and me to laugh, which is why I ran out. I thought to myself, I don't want to be standing there in front of this man, my dearly beloved father, who's taking his last breath and laughing. The American comedian actor amassed a net worth of $3 million at his demise. His role as Deputy Sheriff Barney Fife on The Andy Griffith Show and as landlord Ralph Furley on Three's Company is one of fans' classics. 2 years before his demise, TV Guide gave him number 27 on its 50 greatest TV stars of all time. He deserved the honorary awards and recognition for the moments he spent thrilling fans on the silver screen. It was impossible to watch Don Knotts without cracking a smile. That's how good he was. He received 5 Emmy Awards for his performance on The Andy Griffith Show, and his role in the film earned him more recognition than anything else in his acting career. Don Knotts wasn't just an entertainer, but a great soldier. While in the Army, he served in the 6017th Special Services Battalion. He was discharged at the rank of Technician Grade 5. He received the World War II Victory Medal, the Philippine Liberation Medal, the Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal, the American Campaign Medal, the Army Good Conduct Medal, the Army Marksman Badge, and the Honorable Service Lapel Pin. He was a man of honor and demonstrated even greater talents after leaving the Army. Din received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2000. The people of his hometown in Morgantown, West Virginia recognized and rooted for the actor. To acknowledge the legend, a street formerly known as South University Avenue was changed to Don Knotts Boulevard. To honor his role as Barney Fife, Don was named an honorary deputy sheriff with the Monongalia County Sheriff's Department. Andy Griffith requested a statue of Don be placed in his hometown and fought to sculpt it in Don's likeness. Sadly, he lost the battle to others who wanted it to be a replica of Don's character as Deputy Barney Fife. A statue honoring him was created by Jamie Lester and unveiled in 2016. It sits gallantly in front of the Metropolitan Theater on High Street in his hometown of Morgantown, West Virginia. His grave inscription cited him as one of the significant influences on other entertainers, and there's no doubt about it. Don was one of the greatest actors ever to walk the planet. What do you think about Don Knotts? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to this channel. Before you go, watch the other videos on your screen.